All right, folks, as we move on, it's not uncommon to hear that a child or an adult has gone missing, and our heart goes out to family members who are living every day hoping their loved one will be found and returned home safely. But what are the policies and procedures that govern the investigation of a missing person? This morning, we have the Deputy Registrar, National Children's Registry, Child Protection and Family Services Agency, Mr. Warren Thompson, and Deputy Superintendent of Police, Information Officer, Delia Garrick. Good morning to you both. Welcome to Smile Jamaica.
Good morning. Thank you.
Senior Deputy Soup, can you hear me? Okay, we'll try to work out Ms. Garrick. Mr. Thompson, I wanted to ask the first question to the Deputy Superintendent because I can remember like I'm watching the police shows abroad, and I always hear that you have to be missing for 48 hours before the police actually act on it. You know, sometimes you might sleep out and people think you're missing and you really don't miss it. Is there a timeline here in Jamaica as far as you know?
So for adults, it's 24.
All right, so we're certainly having some problems. So,
but for children, there's no time. You're not hearing me. Okay.
Can you tell me that answer again, sir? I did not hear the first part, unfortunately.
Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you now.
Right. So I was saying that for adults, I believe they have to wait 24 hours.
24 hours.
But for children, you don't have to wait. The guideline is that once you cannot account for the child's location, you report it immediately.
So my child normally gets home from school at 3 o'clock, and at 3:30 I don't see her. Do I jump around immediately, or do I hang around and wait for what?
Well, we advise that parents have an idea of the children's behavior. So if it's out of the norm, if it's very strange, if something must have happened for the child to not get home just yet, then we advise that you report it. And it's safe to report, even if you're going to wait and see if the child comes, it's safe to report because right away, the police and the CPFSA, we can take some actions. And certainly if the child returns home, then, the child's name is taken off. Once you can prove the child has returned, then we wouldn't continue with an investigation. Okay. But certainly if you can't account for the child's location, we ask that you report it. Okay. Because the risks are too high. Because we know children can go missing for various reasons. Children can get lost, children can run away, children can become disoriented, children can be abducted. Yeah. And we just never know what is the reason.
Okay.
Mr. Thompson, good morning.
Good morning, Empress.
Good to see you. Let's look at the nation's missing children. What are the numbers saying, and how alarmed should we be, and what measures do we need to put in place to help to find them or to help to stop them from running away? What is the nation saying right now? What are the statistics?
So the good thing is that we have been seeing a reduction. For the past 2 years, the numbers have been lower than what we normally see. We're used to seeing anywhere above 1,700 to 2,000 reports per year. But since 2018 and 2019, we have been in the 1,500 region. I think in 2018, we had 1,512 cases. Last year, 1,543. And perhaps because of COVID-19, I'm expecting to see an even further reduction. So let me give you an example, or let me put it in context. For January to May 2019, we had over 700 cases, about 722, I believe. I can double check that. But over 700 for sure. For January to May 2020, we have had 486.
Okay.
And that's from March, the numbers have been reduced by about half. So March, April, and May, the numbers have been much lower than we're used to see.
Let's get into the mind of the children then who run away, because I know you have all of these cases in front of you. The return rate has been pretty good, however, right? Meaning they return home, and some of them are abducted, or some of them are being lured into places by predators. I mean, what's the ratio of those who are just running away because they're in depressed situations in their communities or homes, as to those who are being abducted?
All right, so the majority, significant majority are children who voluntarily go missing. They run away from home. And because of that, the return rate is very high. So we're looking at about 9 out of 10. For the past 2 years, it has been about 85%, but you can't have 8.5 children, so about 85% return home. But it's closer to 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Right.
Mr. Thompson, what happens to that child? Apart from what the parents will do, so I'll be upset because my daughter run me and she
Right.
come back home and I'm very upset. But do you guys get involved not only with the families but with the kids themselves to find out
All right,
why it
so
happened?
yes, so what happens once a child goes missing or an alert unit makes contact with the family? Once the police are able to get a telephone number or some other way of contacting them, we get in touch with the family to try to understand the circumstances around the child's disappearance. That's one. If we do an assessment to determine if the family needs some kind of support, perhaps grief counseling, and when the child returns home, and then of course we provide that. When the child returns home, we do an interview with the parent and with the child to understand the reasons why the child went missing in the first place, why they ran away. And if we realize that the child disappeared because of some abusive situation, an investigation is done, and out of that investigation, the child may become a client of the agency.
What do you mean by that? Sorry to jump in. What do you mean by she becomes a client of the agency?
So it means the child would be assigned an officer. The child may be taken before the court as being in need of care and protection. There can be a fit person order, which means the child may be taken into care, or based on the nature of the situation, the child may be placed on supervision. So a number of things happen. Majority of them, though, are served by our child and family support unit, especially if the situation is more of a behavioral problem or conflicts between parents and children. So that unit now would provide some counseling intervention. So they're clients, yes, but because they're not given a court order, we don't consider that they have come into care. But they are being served by the agency.
Okay.
So they perhaps have some counseling sessions, some family sessions, and the aim is to prevent the child from going missing again, and to prevent the child from coming into tertiary care.
Okay.
Meaning that the child will have to be placed before the court, or the child will have to be taken from the family.
All right.
You know, I have to ask you this, Mr. Thompson. There's a cry from advocacy groups about children who are deemed uncontrollable and sent to juvenile centers and places like that. And I want to know what are your registry when we're looking at children being deemed uncontrollable, looking at having them behind, confined places, directed by the court, the Child Diversion Act. What conversations are being had about that right now? Because it does a lot for a child psychologically when we call them uncontrollable.
Yes.
And I personally have a problem with it. What are you, the stakeholders, saying and doing, and conversations with the advocacy groups? Where are we?
All right, so the truth is, Empress, the children who are deemed uncontrollable are children who are in the care of the Department of Correctional Services. And most times when they get there and get that label, it's not through the CPFSA. Parents who have issues with the children will take their children directly to the court and make the claim that the child is uncontrollable. And based on the proceedings in court, the judge may decide that the child has to be remanded. Now, for us at the CPFC, we see a whole lot of children with behavioral problems, Empress. A whole lot of them. And our officers try to provide the counseling intervention to support the families in other ways. And the aim is to prevent the child from coming into care, whether it's in our care or in the care of the Department of Correctional Services.
Yeah, Mr. Thompson, we got the wrap up. Final question from me, and I'm not certain you can answer this one. Are you involved? You know anything about this Jasmine Dean case?
So Jasmine Dean is, I don't know about you, but Jasmine Dean is an adult.
Right.
Now, DSP Gary could be better able to respond to that one.
Yeah.
At the CPFSA, we work primarily with children and families.
Okay, all right.
We lost him there.
Yeah, thanks very much. So
yeah,
we have to go
yeah.
because we want to go to news.
And apologies, we couldn't get DSP Daily,
Yeah,
all right?
because that question would have been for the police. We really want to know what's going on with that. Kind of want to know how long before they say, well, all right, we're not going to search anymore, stuff like that, because I haven't heard too much about that case, and that's unfortunate.
There's so many cases we don't hear the end
university
result.
student.
Yeah.
And they made a couple of arrests. I know that for sure. Anyway.